we're going to talk about. I'm a couple days a little bit late to the MK1 conversation of the beta and everything, but I still wanted to get my thought train out there while it's still somewhat in my head. This is probably going to remind me of some stuff watching back this footage and everything. But yeah, we had the Mortal Kombat 1 closed beta. It happens, and again, like I was trying my hardest to get into it because, of course, I played over 100 hours of MKX, over 100 hours of MK11. I probably put in roughly 40 to 50 hours of MK9. It was, Mortal Kombat is one of the favorites. It's like one of the favorite fighting game franchises out there that I have. It's what I've built channels around, back in the day and everything. That's one of the things that started the Werewolf channel was MKX and all that. So, jumping into MK1, as soon as I started getting hands on with it, I was just like, something feels a little off. Something feels a little weird. And I know that there's going to be a lot of people who are like, oh, but it's Mortal Kombat. You're supposed to love it, and there's going to probably be a defense force around it because there is a lot of influencers that are also, like your pro players and your big name streamer content creators and everything. They are, going into it being like, okay, well, there is some weird stuff in here, but, the way the combos work and all that stuff is structured is really cool and awesome. I've heard the different sides of the arguments. I was very surprised that there was actually a fair amount of people that were actually agreeing with the takes I had on the beta. I thought I was going to be in that camp all by myself on this one, but so the first thing of all, the graphics, of course, the game looks gorgeous, absolutely. It looks on par, if not maybe a little bit better than MK11. I will definitely say it. You have some, like the floor right there. You can see it's not ray tracing, I don't think, but it's definitely the baked in reflections and everything that's happening in the background environments and all that. The dynamic lighting that's happening. It looks great. The banter back and forth, I'm liking, the voice acting, of course, top notch also, as it always is. The selection of characters seems like it's going back. It's, because the world is reset. So, I mean, as you can see, this is like Johnny's party pad right here. So, it's not just going to be in the nether realms and all that stuff. We're actually going into like modern day time and all that. And I think that's really cool. I do really enjoy seeing all that. On top of that too, I do like the way that they're changing up the characters a little bit. It's not just like the same old story that we've been seeing for, was it 30 years? Yeah, 30 years of Mortal Kombat. So this is one little thing you can see right there where the lighting is very dark. That is a bit of a lighting glitch. Of course, the one thing to keep in mind through this whole Let's Talk, this build of the game is probably roughly 4 months old. That's usually how betas work. You'll have, every time you get hands on with an early access of a game, it is, or in a beta form, I should say, it is at least like 3 to 4 months old. With that being said, some of the stuff might be changed. It might be fixed. So one thing that is very similar to every other game in the Mortal Kombat series is the way that the combo structure is. You hit your square, you hit your triangle, that goes into your circle, your square, your triangle, or your triangle, circles, triangle, that, that back and forth that you're doing on the pad. That's absolutely there. It's just like any other. All that stuff is cool, and they're not trying to change the way the combo structures work. But the one thing I will say that I feel is definitely different is the neutral or lack of. I seen I do believe it was Sonic Fox that was like, oh, this has a neutral of MK11. I'm like, I absolutely do not see that. I am so far, like, I feel like I played a different game than that. The neutral game for me just wasn't existent. Like, it's just basically you just walk in and you're trying to slap a combo. You're trying to do a combo, and that's like your whole neutral game. To me, not having a bit of a foot tap, maybe it's because I've been playing a lot of Street Fighter 6 since it's come out. I've been putting a ton of time into that. But the thing with Street Fighter 6, like Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat, are like brother and sister games almost, or brother little brother games, whatever you want to say, in the fact that the basics of the combat and the way that you go into the basics of the combat are very similar. You do your footsies, you toe tap, you jab in there, and you make your way in, and you're trying to open the other person up to go into a combo. And what the feel is on this is that it's like you're pre-dialing in the combo before you get the combo started, and instead of the way Mortal Kombat usually does it is, and this is where Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat kind of split, because Street Fighter is more or less like very short combo, and then read your opponent and go into another very short combo. You don't really have the whole thing of like a touch of death so much in Street Fighter. It's more or less kind of, you feel that in Mortal Kombat more. So where Mortal Kombat goes in is like you make your way in, you approach, you open, go for a 50-50 mix up, and then you go into a combo, and you dial in the combo as you're doing the combo. And if you mess up that dialing in the combo, then you drop the combo. That's usually how it goes. So it is like Mortal Kombat. I'm not saying Mortal Kombat isn't combo focus or combo centric, or like there isn't like dial up combos or anything in the game. There absolutely is. What I'm saying is the feeling of going into the combo feels weird in MK1, and I think that's something that they really need to address. Also, so when we have variations, where is the so when you have variations and everything, the structure, so the one thing I loved about MKX, and I loved it even more in MK11, and a lot of people will argue this point, because I've had this argument with a lot of different people, especially people that come from like arcade days and everything. I'm like, well, the one thing that I can never wrap my head around of people arguing a point of MK11 had less variety in its combo structure than MKX. And I'm like, well, in one way, maybe I could kind of see that, but then in another way, it's like my whole argument was, if you set up a character like, okay, Spawn on MK11, with this type of with its the super or special moves set up and everything, you could set up Spawn to either be a total just pew pew pow pow guy where he just you're going in for those guns the whole time. Or you could set it up to where you do a shoulder check, and then you smack him up in the air, and and you bring up the axes that will juggle him and everything. And that was definitely two separate classes that you can make Spawn do the things of. And then you had the other flip side of it is on MK11 you have Scorpion, where you can end up extending the combo a little bit with different moves that you do. So I would do my teleport into pop him up into air, into pop hit him a couple times midair, and then grab him with the chain around, and then yank him into the ground. Or if you're on the last hit, pull pop their head off, and it's a brutality. I don't feel like I'm being able to do any of that stuff really easily, I should say. You are definitely doing it in MK1, but it's not easy to get into the rhythm of the fight, I guess you could say, if that makes any sense to anybody. Here's my thing of like so they are going for touch of death feel, and that's the wrong way of going about Mortal Kombat. Like, I think this is the one Mortal Kombat game where I'm just like, they are going so far the opposite way of where they need to be with this Mortal Kombat. They are going straight up like Ed Boon and the Mortal Kombat's social media team. They have been promoting nothing but the pro players doing these touch of deaths in the corner. That is literally like 50-60% of the health bar just getting wrecked in the corner. I've seen also one of them, I think it was Honeybee. They were literally just doing a jab, kick, jab, kick, jab, kick, jab, kick. And if you get into the rhythm of it, I don't even think they use an assist. They just did that in the corner. But because of the gravity, the way the gravity works in the game, because you have the assist stuff in there, you have way more gravity in this game. Like MK11, you kind of they fall onto the ground no matter whatever you do. They are going to fall into the ground. So it makes it so you have at least 3 to 4 touches per match, or per round, I should say. And it makes it so you can't do a touch of death in the corner. This one, they just threw that all out, and they're just going straight in for the touch of death. And it's like, I feel like you're going to lose a majority of your fan base by doing that. Like, and I've heard the other flip side of this too, of like, well, it's Mortal Kombat, it's going to sell no matter what. Sure, it's going to sell. I'm not saying Mortal Kombat won't sell. That's just dumb. That'd be a dumb point to make. Of course it's going to sell. People are, anybody who didn't get into the beta, they're going to be like, well, it's Mortal Kombat. I want this. I want to check it out. Hell yeah, I want to rip somebody's freaking spine out of them, chop them up into little pieces, blood and gore and blah, and I want to see, Melina's tits or whatever. The thing of it is, though, when they start actually jumping in on this, you're going to have like 2 or 3 days. And because these characters, the move set is so kind of basic with the characters, once again, just like it always is, you're going to have your casual player base fall the fuck off. It's going to end up happening because you're going to have the other players that are going to sit there and figure out some touch of death thing in the corner, and they're just going to spam the ever living piss out of it. When that starts to happen, you're going to see basically what we are already seeing in the beta: the meta, the tier list, all that shit. To me, the meta, the tier list is kind of bullshit. It's just whatever character that clicks with your brain and you can use really well. That's kind of the top tier character. Everybody's tier list is different to you personally. If you're better at grapplers, that's going to be your tier list. If you're better at long range, that's going to be your tier list. If you're better at 50-50s and doing mind games, then there you go again. Sonic Fox, the best character that Sonic Fox uses is not going to be the best character that you use. And just because you see Sonic Fox do it in tournament doesn't mean that's going to be the best character that you can use online. So the one thing I was definitely seeing, though, on MK1, I mean, this was like literally 12 hours after the beta started, was we were seeing the same combo and people were being able to read Sub-Zero. Now, Sub-Zero, probably I would say maybe the top tier character out of the beta. It was in between Sub-Zero and Kenshi. Like those two were like the top characters. It's Kenshi, yeah, it's Kenshi. Swordman. I just call him freaking Neo because he looks like Keanu Reeves. Anyways, with I think maybe Katana third, maybe I guess. And I'm talking like that's without the assists in there. So Sub-Zero was easily top tier, whatever you want to say, in the beta. Like there's no denying Sub-Zero was the easiest one to use in the beta. Now the reason why I think he was the easiest one to use in the beta for a lot of people was because he plays a lot like Shang Tsung from MK11. If you jump in on MK11 and pick up Shang Tsung, oh yeah, the slide, and then also he has the slide that goes into a little bit of a combo. You have the people just were, for some reason, I think it was just because the pros were on and nobody wanted to actually initiate into the matchup. But yeah, and then also Sub-Zero. So he has a slide like Shang Tsung, and then he also has the overhead under cane thing from Joker. Like Sub-Zero was the most like MK11 mixed match of character movesets all thrown together. And funny enough, even though there's so many people that were, complaining like hell, this combo right here over and over and over and over and over again. And you'll notice they just keep going for the same combo over and over and over again. But the thing that really stuck out to me, though, was, like I said, like 12 hours into the beta, people already knew every single way of getting around every single combo that you're trying to do. So to me, I'm like, well, you took out variations. Now the game is very limited. So now it's just a focus of touch of death in the corner, freeze them in the corner, smack them, bring in the assist, grab, freeze them in the corner, assist, trap, all that. To me, right here is like, if this was more of a back and forth like mind game, I wouldn't have a problem with it. But the fact of the matter is just like the mind game is kind of just gone. It's basically whoever gets the momentum in the fight. And this is a very like it's just a thing of assist games, which is the reason why I'd much rather play a 1v1 game. Again, that right there is a very Joker. I mean, even that overhead one is a Joker move too from MK11. That's why I was like, wow, there's a lot of people playing Sub-Zero. Oh, this is the reason why he's so easy to use, because he feels like like 3 MK11 characters thrown together. Trying to remember which one. So Kenshi feels so much like MK11 or MKX. Sorry, MKX. Like the moves that he had off from that. What else? Maybe Fujin also a little bit from MK11. So it's kind of like the MKX Kenshi Fujin MK11 squashed together. There you go. You got Kenshi in this. So my overall thoughts and feeling on the whole MK1 is just like, again, like the more I was jumping into it and kind of getting the feel of the combat, getting the momentum of the combat, getting the mind game of the combat, or even really the lack of the mind game. Because it's not really, you're not going in this trying to open your opponent up. You're more or less going into this just attacking and getting the momentum to start doing the combos. And then just you're basically your whole time in the training lab, instead of figuring out like, okay, what is my opener? Can I, if I do a low sweep, is it quick enough to go past 60% of the other characters punches or whatever else? Instead of going in there with that mindset of like, okay, so if I creep up on the person, do a 50-50 of some kind, maybe an overhead kick into a low kick to open them up into some other move, whatever, that leads into a combo. Instead of that being there, I think everybody's going to be labbing just doing combo extenders. That's going to be the whole thing of it. And yes, once you get down your openers, you should be labbing combo extenders. But like I said, you don't even need to do the openers, because it's basically just like hope like hell, kind of hope like hell your combo lands to begin with. The other thing too, because I just noticed I was not really teabagging but going up and down like that. Why is the taunt button? Why is the taunt teabag? That was messing me up so much. That's something that I feel like they're going to probably change, because like when you're in the middle of the war zone in the stage and you're trying to figure out, okay, are they coming at me low or neutral or whatever? And if you accidentally go down 3 times, I swear to God, even if you're holding the block button, he starts to, the characters just start to they start taunting and everything. I'm like, stop it. I'm just trying to figure out where the person's going to attack me at. Let's see here. So let's see here. What else we need to kind of get into? So the assists, again, I just feel like the assists are kind of in the wrong way done with this game. So you see where it's like, it just feels like Marvel vs. Capcom. It doesn't feel like Mortal Kombat to me. It's just the whole structure of this. And I get that they're trying to do something new. They're trying to spruce it up and go a different direction with it and everything. But this just feels way too much like Marvel vs. Capcom. If I wanted to play Marvel vs. Capcom, I would play a Marvel vs. Capcom game, or I'd play Guilty Gear, or I'd play freaking Dragon Ball or something. That's not what I'm jumping into Mortal Kombat for. I'm jumping into it for a 1v1 situation. I want to outthink my opponent, not just like learn the best like 2 characters that work together and synergy and all that stuff. I'm not, like I said, if I want that game, I'll go and do the other games. I don't need it in this. So the way the assists, I was hoping for it to work, was that it'd be a one-time thing where, like, instead of a fail blow, because I know there's a lot of people who are like, well, the fail blow, it takes so much time and it stops the match and everything. What I was hoping was the assist would be kind of like the fail blow, where it would instead of being the go-to combo extender, it would just be like a one-time thing per round, or maybe even per match, where you bring in another character, and then it would sort of stop the combat, but at the same time would kind of just put everybody back into neutral. So if you are just trying to get momentum back in there, like you're really losing, and you bring in that other character, and then something happens to where it just gives you that little extra boost of momentum to get back into the fight, basically. I think fail blows were actually awesome. Do they need to be as cinematic? Maybe not. I thought I didn't mind the cinematicness of it, but at the same time, I'm just like the whole idea of it, though, of that it's trying to bring you back into the fight, basically. Just because you're getting your ass beat doesn't mean that you are just completely kaputs and done. You can kind of have a little something of like, okay, I just reset the momentum a little bit, so maybe I can now edge myself into the fights of, playing a little footsie game, doing a 50-50 mix-up. Maybe you catch somebody. Maybe you come, and it brings it right down to that close finish. And then when you have that close finish, what ends up happening? Ooh, one more. Okay, well, I'm going to go one more. That's the one thing that I was definitely also not feeling on. In all honesty, the more I was playing this Mortal Kombat, the more I was really kind of starting to hate it. I'm just like, man, this is just not what I'm looking for in Mortal Kombat. Just the way it's set up, the way it's the way the combat feels. It was, I'm not the only one what I was saying either, that it felt a little sluggish, a little just like, when I don't know. I guess it was latency on the controls and everything with the online, which was definitely. I was hearing it was like, what was it? Like 7 to 8 frames of input latency on it, which is definitely not a good look for this. They definitely need to fix that up. But again, it's probably a 4-year-old build or a 4 month old build of something that comes out in another 3 months. So there's a lot of time that they can fix all that stuff up. I would think they would have already had it kind of fixed up, just going from, it's what, Unreal Engine 4. Plus also this is not, I don't think this is going to be too different on the engine side from what it was with MK11. So you'd think that the stuff they learned from MK11 would go into the longest development cycle they've ever had for Mortal Kombat, being MK1. You'd think things would be fixed up a little bit more in this. Again, I come from this from a place of like, damn, I love Mortal Kombat. It's so much fun to do it and all that. Maybe they're not going to be liking me talking about this and saying anything about this, but or whatever, at NRS they might be sitting there like, oh, shut up. But this is just my feelings on it. Of like, in all honesty, after the beta, like I feel like I would need another beta and maybe more of an up to date build with it. What was? Oh, right, yeah. I just feel like I would need like another beta to try and sell me on this, because right now, if this was the only beta, if this was the only time I had hands on with this, I think I'm just skipping this Mortal Kombat. I just don't. I didn't have fun with it. It's just not what I was looking for. Unfortunately, man, this level looks very dark. I wasn't noticing in the fight, but yeah, this level looks very dark. I don't know if that's supposed to be looking that way, or if maybe it's just a capture, but damn, that looks very dark. God, what else? So okay, one thing, another good thing though, matchmaking was very fast. For the most part, everything was pretty smooth. And if when it comes to Mortal Kombat, you know how many people have Wi-Fi connections that are running very high pings. That was one thing. Yeah, you see a little bit of the stutter in the video right there. For the most part, it felt like MK11 online when when somebody had a good connection, everything ran smooth. When you start running into Wi-Fi warriors, of course, it's going to start bugging out a little bit. It's same thing as what we've always seen with every single fighting game. That's not such a big issue, but for the most part, the matchmaking was going pretty good. One thing I did notice, the stats. So it wasn't tracking wins and losses, and I was it was kind of refreshing seeing that, because I'm like, well, okay, if somebody sees my profile and I have a ton of wins on it, they're not going to just back right out. Maybe that could be a feature going into this online. Like I wouldn't mind seeing that, of just like, okay, your profile just doesn't show up. It would just kind of take the edge off from things if you have like a big profile you've been playing for years and you have 3,000 wins and 4,000 losses, or maybe the opposite way around, whatever the case may be. I don't know. I think that would be kind of a cool thing that they could do, is just add that in there to customize your profile to be able to see certain stuff and not other things. Yeah. Again, too, like you can see, like very, very quick matchmaking. That was, I mean, I did just fast forward it, but still, I do like the potential of the cameo characters. Who are we going to see? That does bring in like some, it's going to bring in so much speculation of like not only who is the guest characters, who is the DLC characters, but who is the cameo DLC characters. I'm also kind of wondering if the cameo characters, way I would do it, if I was NRS, the way I would do it is cameo characters are free updates. I don't know if they're going to do it that way. I haven't even looked at the season pass or anything, because I just wanted to get hands on with the game first to see like what's going on with this. What's really sucks too is I am having so much fun with Street Fighter 6, and I never even got into one of the betas on Street Fighter 6. And I'm getting into the beta for MK1, and and I really don't like MK1, which is, it's like it's the most like frustrating situation ever. Again, though, it's just the way that the game is set up. But yeah, cameo characters. So I wouldn't mind if the character packs, and this is the reason why I say this, if the character packs are just for the main character that you play as, and the cameos are free upgrades, it'd probably make the season pass a little bit cheaper. I would think, possibly, maybe here. and then you're gonna have your microtransaction DLC crystal-y type of stuff for whatever else that they got in there, combat coins or whatever the hell they call it for this one. Oh, and yeah, that's the other thing too. So I'm just been talking about gameplay and everything. The other cool thing that is going to be in this too is a full-on story mode and whatever other crypt thing. Oh yeah, that was, again, I was trying my hardest to like it. It was just, it's just so much of a focus on combos. I was just like, I just got really sick of it. Like, oh, I have to extend combos or I'm gonna get my ass beat in this. Oh, great. So basically my whole playstyle goes out the window that I do every single fighting game with, where that's even tag games like Dragon Ball or whatever. Like, you don't need to do giant combos. I think it's just too much of a focus on that stuff. But oh god, my brain going 10 different directions because I'm trying to get everything out here. But again, though, what they're doing with possibly a giant story mode and maybe an extended crypt where you're running around like the Nether Realms city, whatever the case may be. I think that's going to be a very cool thing that they're going to have in there, and I can't wait to see what they do with it. I don't know if I'm going to be jumping in on it. Like I said, if the combat itself is not fun to do, I don't see a reason to buy the game. And that's, because the gameplay itself is the most important thing. So, yeah, that's, again, it's just kind of the bitter pill to swallow of like, oh, man, I was really looking forward to a new Mortal Kombat. And then I jump into it. I'm just like, this is just not what I wanted out of this at all. And there's probably a lot of people that are like just the ass opposite way around, and they're, oh yes, I love the assists and everything else. Okay, so be it. But I'm telling you, for the most part, if the casuals see touch of death in the combo, that turns them off instantly. I know because I talk with a lot of casual people that they're not streamers, they're not they're not pros, they're not this, they're not that. They're just like, oh yeah, I played Mortal Kombat back in the day. Those people that might see MK1 and be like, oh, that maybe looks fun. And then as soon as they see, somebody getting their ass beat for like 60% of the health bar just wiped out in the corner because of assists and everything, that's just like, what the hell? I've already actually heard it from people of like, well, that's not what Mortal Kombat was. I'm like, yeah, well, that's what this one is. So that might be the biggest problem with this. And maybe best case scenario would be that they add a mode in where cameos don't do as much, they're not as prominent in the combat. If there is just a straight up just 1v1 mode online, that might be a big saving grace for this. But again, there's so much of a lack of neutral in this game of just, like the mind game of just trying to make your way in. Maybe they did it so you wouldn't have so much grabbing happening, because there was, that's one thing with MKX and MK11, everybody grabbed. They were just grab happy throughout if you're a low tier rank, you just grab, and then it does like a big chunk of damage. Instead of just dropping the amount of damage that it does on grab, no, they bring an assist to try and push people into a different direction, which is, again, just redial in the damage numbers and then keep the gameplay that made MK11 the best selling Mortal Kombat in a very long time. Why try and fix that when it's not broke? The brokenness is the amount of damage that you're getting off from one single hit. So, yeah. Anyways, I don't want this to be too long because this will go up on YouTube. So I think I will wrap up this conversation with saying that I just want one more beta, maybe a little more of a up-to-date build on the beta to see if they fixed up some of the input buffer issues, maybe with less input buffer, or that's a giant one. Settings. A settings thing in there. We had no controller settings at all. So if they give us the controller settings with the release button check on there and all that, maybe the input buffer wouldn't be so bad. That could very well be a thing. Yeah, I like I said, I think we need one more beta that is a little more up to date with a little more option settings, and not even that we need a lab mode or any of that stuff. It's just like, something that is just a little bit, just makes the game a little bit smoother to play, or that, and also the inputs, the input buffering, just less input buffering in this. It could just very well be that they were like, well, we don't see a lot of the casuals doing combos, so we're going to try and make this so casual friendly that we give this giant input buffer window in there. So, even if you're like, I think this is it, and then the combo still comes out, maybe that's their thinking there. I don't know. Yeah, either which way, it's got some work that needs to be done. So hopefully they are listening, and hopefully there's enough voices out there, because this is the problem with the influencers being best friends with the developers now. It's almost like if the player base says one thing, if people come in and they are right there in person playing the game and talking with the developers, and developers are sitting there back there like, okay. What I'm afraid of is that if the influencers are like the pro players and everything else that are not on the level of the casuals, or over the level of the casuals, I should say, that the casuals just start being kind of the background noise, and they just start exclusively listening to the ones that have the bigger, fan bases and everything. Well, I see in my chat and everything, yes, but the chats, the problem with influencer chats or big name streamer chats is it's a bubble. Every single one of them is a different bubble of like, well, if the streamer says that this thing is cool, then automatically there's 1,000 people in chat saying it's cool. Instead of like, what is the general consensus on this overall? People are not in that chat, because that's the ones that are selling the game. That's the ones that are going to make sure that we have as much DLC as possible, as to make sure that all the updates and everything keep coming through years from now. Which that's the other thing too. NRS said they want to try and support this game for as long as possible. Could this be a Street Fighter V situation where the game comes out and everybody's like, I don't really like it too much? Maybe, possibly, but the problem is there's so much content with this. I think people might just suffer through the bad combat to get to the good stuff. Of like the story mode, the crypt stuff, and unlocking. We don't even know how much customization is in this. So far, we haven't seen anything that says there's any customization of characters or moveset stuff, or just like, it might just be because they add in cameos and they can't, the systems cannot dial in all the different customization because they have an extra character on screen, that we just lost all that customization. That very well could be a thing. We only have so much system resources to play around with. So, yeah. I think that kind of covers everything for now, because we haven't seen story mode, we haven't seen crypt or anything. So basically, yeah, this is just a gameplay. My gameplay gripes, and also, like I said, the visuals are great. The character personality too is really cool. So shout out to the voice, the voiceover cast and everything that they're bringing the characters to life. I do love also the change up in the story of, like Sub-Zero and Scorpion are brothers, I guess, and all that. It's cool. I like that, gives you something a little bit different to dive into than just the same old story. Got no problem there. It's just, like I said, the combat itself, that gameplay combat just needs to be tightened up. And then we'll see. Like I said, if there's if I skip this at launch, I'm going to be checking for updates, major patch updates, to see what changes, because it sounds like they're going for something. They're trying something. They know they could take a hit, and then later on with the major patch updates, then they might change it back to the formula that it was before. It seems like my like gut feeling of what I'm hearing everybody saying, it seems like they're going in that direction. They're like, okay, well, if this doesn't work, we have a backup plan. Which I really hope so. It's either that or it's going to be 4 years of basically Street Fighter and Tekken, and Mortal Kombat's going to be kind of like, well, yeah. So, yeah. Anyways, let me do the YouTube thing for a second. Like, subscribe, share the video, bells and whistles, all that good stuff. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for stopping by, and I will see ya next time.